All right. Before we get into it today, just want to remind you to please, if wherever you listen or watch the show, give us a subscribe, give us a follow, or whatever it is on YouTube. Go over to youtube.com/@BigTruthPodcast or just @BigTruthPodcast at YouTube. Make sure you give us a follow over there or subscribe over there. And wherever else you're listening, make sure you like, subscribe, and leave a review. And, all that engagement just boosts us up in the algorithm, gets us in front of more people. If you want to further support the show, then you are more than welcome to go over to patreon.com/bigtruth and select a level of patronage there that matches where you're at. But anything is appreciated, and my Patreon subscribers are my core group of heavy hitters. And you get things like early access to episodes, giveaways, things like that, special content just for the Patreon subscribers. So, yeah, membership has its privileges. If you find yourself in need of artwork of any kind, you need to check out tattooflashcollective.com. Now, especially if you have a tattoo shop and want some new flash, right? But if you're just a tattoo art aficionado, you can get some tattoo flash. But also there's posters, prints, postcards, books, all kinds of art-related things. And it's run by my man Johannes, who you know from this show. So check it out at tattooflashcollective.com. If you use the promo code BigTruth at checkout, you get 10% off your order. If you are a Patreon subscriber, you get even more off your order. So again, membership has its privileges. So check it out over there. If you are in the need of a attorney, you find yourself in a motorcycle accident or car accident, just get the bulldogs on it. Don't mess around with some local guy or whatever. Just get the dudes that are going to get the job done. Go to Glassman Injury Attorneys at 617-777-7777 on Instagram at Gotta Get Glassman. Make sure you tell them I sent you. If you are in New England, you should stop by my motorcycle shop. It's a full brick and mortar motorcycle shop. What does that mean? That means we're not an online brand. We're an actual physical store. You come in, it's like an old school. It's like the, last few of a dying breed, old school motorcycle shops. It's not a dealership. It's not slick. People trying to sell you stuff. It's literally come in, there's a parts counter, there's a showroom where we got all kinds of old choppers, bikes that you'll recognize that we built from various magazines and whatnot through the years. We got the showroom, then we got an area with riding gear and apparel, helmets, gloves, hoodies, t-shirts, whatever. And in the back, it's a full motorcycle shop, meaning, you need anything from oil change to a full custom chopper built. We got you. Anything in between, we'll do it, right? Motor rebuilds, speed work, any upgrade you want to do, exhaust, whatever. If you are not local or in the New England area, you can go to chopperhead.com and check it out there. Spelled CHOPPAHEAD, the most masshole of ways, right? 13 County Road, East Freetown, Massachusetts, 508-995-6764 is the number. We got a bunch of parts online, but not everything is, I can't put everything up there. So if there's an exhaust or something you want and you don't see it on the website, just give us a call or shoot us an email, and we will get you situated. And I can usually have things sent to you within a day or two. So check it out, chopperhead.com. For more information on the podcast, just go to bigtruthpodcast.com. Cordially invite you to check out the merch store, bigtruthpodcast.com/store, or just when you go to Big Truth Podcast, just hit the store link, and it'll bring you over to the Dashery store. There's all kinds of apparel. There's 4 designs up or 5 designs up right now. We've got more in the works. The alien chopper one is, or the chopper alien one is the newest banger and is doing well, and people like it. We had that contest to see which one we should release next, and that was the winner. So check it out, bigtruthpodcast.com/store and bigtruthpodcast.com just for more information on the podcast. And without further ado, we got a wild one today. So I invite you to listen with open ears, open mind, open heart. Check it out. Whether you agree or disagree, it doesn't matter. It's just I am bringing you people who have interesting ideas and interesting beliefs and interesting takes on things. And that's part of the show here. So without further ado, let's rock it right now.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have a liftoff.
Yes, once again, we have liftoff. I want to thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Big Truth Podcast, and I am very stoked to have a man on today that needs no introduction, but I'm going to do it anyway. If you have any involvement in the UFO industry or follow the story of UFOs, UAPs, and the ever-evolving litany of any kind of numerous things that are going on around it, then you've heard this name. Without further ado, L.A. Marzulli, who is an author, documentarian, and UFO researcher, is on with us today. So again, we talked a little bit beforehand, but again, thank you so much for coming on today. Respect the work you've done, and honored to have you on and have some time with you today.
Well, thank you so much for having me on it. It's great to be here. Great to meet you.
You too, man.
Shout out to all your subs out there, and thanks for watching.
Yeah, so I just finished up Rungs of Disclosure, which was a very interesting read. We'll talk a little bit about that. But for my listeners who might not be familiar with you, why don't you give a little bit of background on yourself, what you do, and where people can find you? I know you from the Watchers series, is where I first encountered you. I've seen you on numerous podcasts because I follow the UFO stuff and a bunch of paranormal things. But why don't you give people a little bit of little introductions about yourself and maybe how you got into all this?
Yeah, I got into it through the book of Dr. I.D.E. Thomas. That book changed my life. So that's circa 1990, 1988, something like that. Yeah. It's did I say 1988? Yeah, right around there. Yeah. It's hard to believe that. I became a Christian 45 years ago. So it's 1980 when I came across the line. And right before 1990, is when I got a hold of that book, The Omega Conspiracy, Dr. I.D.E. Thomas. Book changed my life. I interviewed him. I got to know him. I received my honorary doctorate from Dr. I.D.E. Thomas. And since then, there are now 14 books, 15's coming out in March. So 15 books, 32 films. We've got, let me see if I have it here. Yeah, the 10-box DVD set on UFOs. Want to thank my business partner, Gil Zimmerman. And of course, the latest film is on the Holy Shroud, Holy Fire. LAMarzulli.com, and you can avail yourself of, we have 45 minutes together. So there's 32 films, 14 books. We're going to scratch the surface.
Yeah,
That's
of course.
Okay.
And this is just, especially for someone who's new to you, because, a lot of people are familiar with UFOs or like the UFO phenomenon and the stories and a lot of that world. But, you have really put forth the whole theory that this isn't aliens, that this is Nephilim, and you've, I know you've been the guy holding that torch, and so that's going to be an interesting story for people. But just before we even get into that story, what even got you involved or interested in UFOs to begin with? Like, how did you start? What set you on that path?
Well, when I was 12 years old, I told this story, numerous times, but I was 12 years old. I was Boy Scout, and I love Boy Scout camp. And we're at Camp Horseshoe, Rising Sun, Maryland. And there's 4 boys, and we're running up this ravine with these boulders, and we're hopping boulders, and it's a shortcut to lunch.
Yeah.
And, we're 12-year-old kids. What do you want? And I'm the 4th boy in the line. And the lead boy, number 1, goes, "Wow, what's that?" And he points, to his to his right, and the other 2 boys go, "Wow, what is that?" And I go, "Where?" And they go, "There," and they point. And basically what it is, it's the classic silver disc, just hovering there like this, and the sun's glinting off of it, and it's there for probably 20 seconds roughly, and then it just goes like this and gone, just gone, blink of an eye, gone, straight up, blink of an eye, no sound. No rotor wash, nothing like that. We go running back. We saw a UFO. We saw a flying saucer. All the kids come out of the cabins where the scoutmasters are all there. I can see it in my mind's eye right now. What did it look like? Where did it go? Are you sure you saw that? This is at lunch.
Yeah.
By the evening meal, the other 3 boys denied that they had ever seen anything. It was my first lesson in herd mentality. Never forgot it. And
was there pressure, or were people you guys are crazy, you didn't see anything?
Yeah. The taunting. Oh, you guys are crazy, UFO boys. and they called me. I wasn't going to back down. I know what I saw, and you can do a Texas two-step till the cows come home, and I'm not changing it, pal.
Yeah.
And that was it. I mean, that was, and then I got into the New Age from 13 to 30. I was in the New Age. I had a guru. I had spirit guides. I had all sorts of weird supernatural stuff happen because I was open up into, the enemy's camp. I didn't know it, looking for enlightenment. My girlfriend died when I was 18. She was 16. We met when I was 16 and she was 14. So we've been going, together, typical thing, on and off. She was at a different high school. So, I really we wouldn't see, and then there was another girl in our high school but Michelle was very special. And when she was killed in an automobile accident, that set me on the path. Where is God? Who is God? Can I find him? Which led me into Eastern mysticism. And I got all the false stuff first. And then at 30, I became a born-again, spirit-filled Christian. That's 45 years ago. That changed my life. I'll be 75 this December. So it's like, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So how did you go from, you encountered a flying saucer when you were at a young age, and, you were familiar with the UFO phenomenon. How did you go from the mindset that these are interstellar to these are interdimensional, Nephilim type?
Do you remember when Close Encounters came out, the movie?
I was a kid, but I do remember it. Yeah.
So I was in a rock band in Los Angeles. I mean, I'm a trained musician. I was always on the rock and roll trail. I had producers and managers in and out of the studios. I wrote the song, "As you sit in silence, waiting for the Space Alliance, listening to the ringing in your ears, and you want to go." I mean, that's a quick, I have no instrument here, but and you want to go?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah.
No, thank you. But I drank the Kool-Aid. I was totally on board. I wanted to be the Richard Dreyfuss character. I wanted to be the one going on in the ship. Now you couldn't pay me enough money. These are nefarious entities. And, again, I came to the Lord when I was 30 after almost 2 decades, like 16, 17 years of being in the occult, being in silver mind control, Eastern mysticism, gurus, third eye open, all this nonsense. And for 10 years, it was just Bible study. Bible study. And then 1988, 89, I get Dr. Thomas's book. And then I felt the Holy Spirit sort of tapped me on the shoulder. Remember all that junk you were into now? Now we're going to go revisit that from a Christian viewpoint. I'm one of the few people, I mean, there's others, Josh Beck, for instance, that spent time on the other side of the aisle and then became a Christian. And I'm one of those guys. In fact, I called Josh and was not instrumental. The Holy Spirit was, but I was just a messenger, and he gave his life to the Lord, and never looked back. But it was interesting the way the Lord began to move me into what I'm doing now. I was a worship leader for 25 years, and I became a worship leader basically 2 or 3 years into into being a Christian. I didn't know, what I was doing at all. But there was a guy there, George Wibbler, at the old Calvary Chapel. And man, George taught me, I could play. That wasn't the problem. But I was under his tutelage. And I got to the point where, he raised me up in this, and I became a really, I would say I was an anointed worship leader.
Yeah.
I would say that.
Okay. And when did you have like a call in to really start doing this research and, producing your documentaries and writing the books and stuff? Like, how did you, what was that?
From 1988 to 2000, that 10, 12 year span, that's when the Lord's starting to maneuver me.
Yeah.
And then I got signed by Zondervan Publishing House, and they published the first book, Nephilim, a fictional novel, Nephilim, The Truth Is Now Here, which led to the sequel. So it's a Nephilim trilogy. There's 3 books in it. And then I switched from fiction to nonfiction. And then Richard Shaw and I teamed up, started the Watcher series. And, this is like going back. So from 99 to where we are now. So it's, it's like from 98, basically 27 years, really, when you think about it, of actual, changing. And the Lord did it gradually, because all I ever wanted to do was become a Christian musician. have a Christian record deal. Never happened, no matter what. It was like the Lord just never opened that door. I mean, just never, because he knew that that's not what I'm called to do. And I get that. You know, I'm not that. I love music. I play piano every single day. I compose all the music for our films, but that's not my ministry. This is my ministry, and he called me to it, not me. He's the one. That's why I can sit here and go, well, glory's not mine. I'm just going through the hoops. He's the one. And now there's 32 films and 14 books. Number 15 book comes out in March. It's my first novel in 20 years. It's called The Waiting Room. Everybody's really excited about this. People who read it say it's the best book, best Christian fiction they've ever read. Now, that's not me saying that, but I'm just regurgitating what the few people that have read it, that's what they're saying. So we'll see. You know, we'll see what the Lord does with it.
Was it kind of, what was the process like going from doing so much documentarian type work and research type work to going back to doing fiction or a novel? Like, was it refreshing?
It was not planned. My wife Peggy and I were on our way to dinner, and the Holy Spirit just gives me this download. And I look at her and I go, oh my gosh, the Lord just gave me my next book. It's a novel. And Peggy's looking at me going, what? You know? And that was, I don't know, in January, right? And I finished, I sent the manuscript to them in July. Yeah, a little over 6 months.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, it's all him. I mean, I had a lot of fun writing it, and it's called The Waiting Room. And the book really deals with forgiveness. That's the overarching theme, forgiveness, because we know from Scripture, unless you forgive those who trespass against you, your Father can't forgive you. And that's what the book's about. Yeah. So, and there's a lot of really cool stuff in it. I mean, my wife and my editor, both of these women know me really well. Sonda Allison, my editor, I think we've done 6 or 7 books together. So she's really familiar with me. And she says, I'm reading this, I'm laughing one page, I'm crying the next. And, so it's pretty intense. We'll see what the Lord does with it.
Sure. Great. And so, one of the things I've always found interesting, like that I wanted to ask you about if I ever got you on the show, so I got you here, I got to ask you, what was it like when you first came out talking about, and putting forth the theory that this is actually Nephilim and not aliens? I know the UFO community can be a very cliquey and fickle in ways.
Very much so.
Did you get a lot of resistance to that? And what was it like bringing that message out?
First of all, I've been kicked out of churches for this. You need to know that. I've been literally kicked out of churches.
I can imagine.
For my stance on the Nephilim and on UFOs. We don't go to church anymore because the churches around here, for the most part, are all amillennial. They don't believe in 1,000-year reign of Jesus. They don't believe that the church and Israel are two distinct entities, and they believe in replacement theology, where the church has now inherited all the promises that were given to Israel. They don't get it, and they never will get it. And because they hold to what's known as the Sethite theory, where these fallen angels, well, these are the good guys. These are the godly line of Seth and the hoochie mamas of Cain when they come in Genesis 6. But that's not what Genesis 6 says. It says the sons of God, B'nai Elohim. So we don't go anymore, but I have people, Prophecy Watchers, that's our tribe. We'll be speaking at the Prophecy Watchers Conference in Norman, Oklahoma. I think you can still get tickets, but they're going fast. So just go to prophecywatchers.com. I'll be speaking twice. I'll also be featured at a luncheon, from what I understand. They never tell me this stuff. Yeah, they just put it on the docket. Oh, by the way, you're in the luncheon.
You'll find out when you get there.
Yeah, you'll find out. So, Genesis 3:15, I was taught this by Gary Stearman, is the gateway to the Bible. If we don't have the correct exegesis, interpretation of Genesis 3:15, and most of the church does not, because they're all taught the Sethite theory. And when Jesus, let's walk through it real quick. Genesis 3:15 says, Adam and Eve are fallen, they're in the garden, the dragon's over here, and the pre-incarnate Christ says to the dragon, your seed, your offspring, will be at war, at enmity with the seed, the offspring of the woman. And it's just amazing how some so-called biblical scholars will tap dance around this thing like better than Fred Astaire. It's just unbelievable. because, well, that's not really what it says. And the dragon can't possibly procreate. Excuse me, it's a seed war. It tells you what's going on, what happens. And if you don't get the proper interpretation of Genesis 3:15, when you arrive at Genesis 6, 3 chapters later, you kind of go, whoa, why? And I did this 45 years ago. So why is the most holy God destroying the entire planet except for 8 people? What? Who is this guy? I don't like him. Jesus, I love. This guy in the Old Testament, not buying it at all because I didn't understand. It would be years, be 10 years before I got Dr. I.D.E. Thomas's book, who unpacked the entire Nephilim story. So let's walk through it. When Jesus, 2,000 years ago, is stating to all the people with an earshot, and you got to remember, some people know who he is. His Ema, Mary, knows who he is. The apostles know who he is. Mary Magdalene certainly knows who he is, right? They know who he is. And he goes, when I return, it'll be like the days of Noah. And where are you going? What? And everybody in earshot, days of Noah? Oh, the Nephilim and the flood. They all know it'll be like the days of Noah. Why? Because the bones of the Nephilim were openly on display during the time of Jesus' ministry in Jerusalem 2,000 years ago. They weren't in the temple, but I'm going to bet my last dollar they were in a place located where if you came into Jerusalem and you're on your way to the temple, you're going to see the bones of the giants, the bones of the Nephilim, openly on display. Why? To show the people what their forefathers conquered, 1,000, 2,000 years ago, 1,500 years ago. So they were there. No, everyone knows what Jesus says to be like a days. No, they all know what he's talking about. So you get this guy in the 4th century, his name is Julius Africanus, who just invents the Sethite theory. Oh, well, the sons of God are the godly line of Seth. And, these women of earth are the hoochie mamas of Cain. Hoochie mama is not there, number one. And B'nai Elohim, sons of God, always translates angels. And this is what's been taught in our seminaries for decades. How do you do that? You infiltrate. You infiltrate the seminaries. So you teach them replacement theology. You teach them the amillennial worldview. Nothing to see here. Keep moving. You teach them the Sethite theory. And so no one ever knows what's going on. Nobody knows. Most pastors don't know. Most pastors, even I'm not going to mention any denominations, but one, if I told you, and this is a non-denominational church, but it's just become another denomination after 50 years. It's just the same as anybody else. They don't believe, most of those pastors in that denomination don't believe in the Nephilim at all.
Yeah.
So, I don't belong anywhere. I've basically been rejected, from much of the mainstream church, but that's okay. We focus on our YouTube channel. We're nearing 250,000 subscribers, which is fantastic. We do a show 7 days a week, L.A. Marzulli on YouTube, 7 days a week on YouTube, a new show, lots of content. And we have a members only. I just did a members show today where I'm like lecturing. It's a 3-camera shoot here in the studio. So, the Lord took us off the road in January. I've turned down 12. I rescinded 12 conferences and declined 4 more invites. So not that I'm boasting about that, but here's why the Lord did it. So first he said, stop doing conferences. I'm going, what are we going to do? And then he said, focus on your YouTube show. And then he showed me why. Because when we go to a conference, we got to go to LAX, which is a nightmare. And then we hop on a plane. We're jet lagged. We show up on a Thursday, speak on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, go back on Monday. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, it's like 5 days normally, 4 or 5 days. So it costs us $100 a day just to leave the house because we have to have a house sitter for the dog, water the plants, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So it's $500 just to leave. And then we fly there and there's 400 people there.
Yeah. Whereas at your channel, you're talking to 250,000. And it costs
yeah, those are the subs, and we'll get 10, 20, 30, 50,000 views a day. Yeah. This month, the month of August, we're nearing 600,000 views. I mean, what do 400, 600,000. And I get it. It's a better use of our resources, of our time, and we can do 7 shows because I'm Mr. Content. I mean, it just never stops here.
Yeah.
It just never stopped. I did a members only. I actually did 2 shows today. I did a members only show where I lectured on the Nephilim, and specifically we're talking about America's Stonehenge, and I showed all these slides. So the 3-camera shoot. I've kind of already said that, but it makes a lot of sense. So we're focused on the films and on the books, and I just finished number 15. I will be redoing a second edition of a book which went out of print a number of years ago, Politics, Prophecy, and Supernatural. So that book's already written, but I'm going to go in at the end of each chapter and go, here's what I know now in 2025. So it's not quite 20 years since that book was published, but it's getting there.
Yeah. So you're doing the updated version with
exactly.
Yeah. Something I wanted to ask you about, and it ties into a little bit what you're saying here, is that where the bones of the Nephilim have been hidden. In your book on Rungs of Disclosure, you were talking about the Kandahar giant and how you were talking to people about that, and you were approached by someone in a government agency, kind of told that you probably shouldn't really be talking about this. They might have been a little more forceful in how they do it. Why do you think these things are still suppressed today? And when you were talking about the churches and kind of misinformation and things, it's kind of like also like representative of how our politics are today. There's some people know things, some people don't, and there's a lot of misinformation going around and whatnot. What do you think? What's the game going? And I know you mentioned the seed war and everything. What's the end game here? What's the play that's going on, and why are things still being suppressed to this day, in your view and from your experience?
Yeah, in my opinion, it points back to the reality of a supernatural world. It points back to the reality of the biblical prophetic narrative, and they don't want that. It's real simple. They don't want that. It flails. It's not flails. It falls. It goes up against the Darwinian paradigm, and they don't like that because the entire planet runs on Darwinism. You can go to any museum. What do you see? The Darwinian paradigm. What is taught in our schools as fact, and it's not. It's got to stop. The Smithsonian Institute, which is funded by taxpayer dollars, most of the museum funded by taxpayer dollars. What do they shove down your throat? The Darwinian paradigm. So anything that points back to the validity and the veracity of a biblical prophetic narrative, can't have that, especially the Kandahar giant. We broke the story, my late business partner, Richard Shaw, and I, we broke the story on the Kandahar giant. Now it's all over the internet, and these people act like they're discovering it and they're bringing it forth. Where Richard and I did this over a decade ago. Yeah. So there you go.
And have you been approached by other agencies, or religious sects or anything about the message you're putting out there? I'm sure there's a lot of people that would be interested in suppressing that. Is that something that you've encountered? I know whether you can talk about it or not, but is it something that you routinely encounter?
Let me put it to you this way. There's a pecking order in Christian hierarchy. Okay. Yep. The mainstream Christian church won't touch me with a 10-foot pole. Won't even get near it. I am anathema in many of those so-called circles, and I'm not going to disparage anyone. I won't mention any names, but that's the truth. Prophecy watchers. That's my team. That's my tribe. That's where I gravitate to. We are all premillennial, and we're pre-tribulation, and we're looking for the second coming. We're pro-Israel. I don't give Israel a blank check. There's a lot of nonsense going on over there. A lot of nonsense, but they are still God's chosen people because they, Israel, will look on him, Jesus, whom they have pierced. I didn't pierce Jesus. Now my sin did, but I didn't, I get that. His death is my atonement. His blood is my atonement. But I'm not the one who pierced him, but the Jews are. And people don't even like to say that. Mel Gibson got in a whole lot of trouble with the Passion of the Christ. His blood be upon us and upon our children. That's a direct quote. We're not making this up, but they will look on him whom they have pierced. They will understand that they missed him. And that's all part of the prophetic timeline. And they're back in the homeland. And when Jesus returns, it'll be the great reunion. Until then, they've got blinders and they won't look at it. Then, in fact, they call him Yeshu instead of Yeshua, which is his name. They call him Yeshu, which means may his name be blotted out. So there's a lot of animus. And this is why I don't give Israel a blank check. But Amos 9, right? Amos chapter 9, 10 to 14 says this. And this is where the amillennial people, their paradigm falls of its own weight. This is where the anti-Israel people, their paradigm falls of its own weight. These are the people who insist that all these Jews are the Khazarians falls of its own weight. Amos 9, right, 10 to 14 says, is it 10 to 4? Let me give me a second. Yeah. I'm sorry. It's Amos 9, 14 and 15. I just wanted to clarify that. Amos 9, chapter 9, verse 14 and 15. And it says this, I will bring back the captives of my people, Israel, 1948, May 14th, 1948. Check. I will bring back the captives of my people, Israel. Check. They will rebuild the waste cities. Check. I've been to Israel. The waste cities are rebuilt. They will plant vineyards and drink the wine from them. I've been and seen the vineyards in Israel. They will also plant gardens and eat the fruit from them. Here's the kicker. I will plant them in their land, and never again will they be plucked up out of a land I have given them. But if you hold to the amillennial view, then how do you reconcile that scripture? You can't. Well, maybe it's allegory. Maybe it really doesn't mean what it says. No, excuse me. It's very plain. It's literal. And that's exactly what happened. May 14th, 1948, and I got this from Jonathan Cahn when I interviewed him. Dropping a name here, but I got to give credit to Jonathan because that's where I got it from. So Jonathan, when I quoted Amos 9, 14, 15 to him, he said, "Oh, are you aware that on May 14th, 1948, that scripture, Amos 9, 14 and 15, was being read in every single synagogue on the planet? Coincidence? I think none." And so for those of you who are out there who insist, well, these Jews are the Khazarians, doggone it, they're usurpers. Well, let's do some DNA testing, which they've already done. We now know that the priesthood, you can track the DNA. Jonathan Cahn is from the priesthood. How do we know? Because of the DNA. I mean, it's a straw man argument, but people hold on to this tenaciously. And all I can say is that these are God's chosen people. He's not done with them yet. Things are ramping up. Ezekiel 38, 39, Isaiah 17 with the destruction of Damascus. That's in the future. And I think we're looking at the formation of it even now.
And how does this all tie into it? With this prophecy, but also with the impending, there's so much going on in the world of like disclosure right now. And then there's also, I'm sure well aware, you see even in the mainstream media now, there's all this stuff like Harvard scientist says there's a big thing coming towards Earth and going to be here in 138 days or whatever it is. There's a big craft coming or something. Like, how do you think this all ties together, and where does something like Bluebeam fit into all this stuff? Because there's a lot of players in here that are putting their spins on things and wanting information to go one way or the other. Like, how do you see this all kind of coming together?
Well, you just gave me 3 questions, so let's unpack that.
Yeah, I do that.
You read Rungs of Disclosure right in the back there. Yeah. And the conjecture on my part is if there's 17 rungs. Since the book came out, we are now up to rung number 21. So rungsofdisclosure.com, rungsofdisclosure.com is an interactive website. You go there and you can see all the rungs plus the new rungs, which aren't in the book, which I do videos. So you just go click the video and watch and you'll learn. I'm constantly following this. So that's the first thing. What would cause, I talked about this at the Prophecy Watchers Conference in this year. I said, what would cause, how do you create a one world government and one world religious system? How do you do that? Well, we're all linked up right now with the internet, right? Everybody's linked up, the free world, the unfree world, everybody's linked up with the internet, right? Satellites are in geosynchronous orbit all around the planet. Everything is linked up. You have a nuclear device. I wrote about this in Rungs of Disclosure. You have a nuclear device going off anywhere on this planet. All it takes is one. It creates the greatest climate of fear because that's all we'll be talking about on the internet 24/7. It's just like COVID. Everything will be lit up. The grid will be lit up. It'll be a controlled narrative and everyone will be terrified. Oh my gosh, are we all going to die? Everything will be martial law. Everything is in lockdown. Well, guess who shows up? Right here. Guess who shows up? Our friendly space brothers. What will they say? Oh, we created all life on this planet. We genetically manipulated early man. We started the world's civilizations. We started the world's religions. Now at this critical juncture, because you guys just blew up a nuke and killed a couple of million people. Now we're back to usher mankind into a golden age. And they're going to set up a one world government, one world religious system. That's what's going to happen. It's in the book, Rungs of Disclosure. But that's what I think the scenario is. So let's go and unpack this, whatever this thing is that's coming in, right? So they call it 3-Eye Atlas. So Atlas is a Nephilim. That's number one. Atlas has the world on his shoulders. Now, I'm not saying this is what it is. There's my disclaimer.
Sure.
I'm walking through it from my lens. My perspective, this is what I see. They are telegraphing us something. So Atlas holds the world on his shoulder. They're telling us that's a global event. So what is a 3-eye? What does that mean? 3-eye, third eye, right there. Third eye Atlas. So this is a time of enlightenment. Now, I could be way off base here, and that's my caveat. I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm not saying I have special inside information about all this, but these people telegraph stuff, and they always have a little catch there for those of us who are looking, and I'm looking. So I was immediately suspect. Third Eye Atlas, what? And why name it that? Why not just name it, Comet, whatever, Comet Tomato Head? I don't know.
Well,
so.
Well, it seems like that, when they try and pull a lot of this stuff, it almost seems like a rule or a law that they have to kind of disclose it.
Yep.
They have to disclose it. And, one thing I always wondered about, because, if you think about things like the Maelstrom base incident where where the UFOs come and shut the nukes or play with the nukes, like, what do you think was about? Like, because if they're interested in having a nuke type event go off, why show they can shut things down? Do you know what I mean? Like,
no, I do, because that's their trigger. By the way, Richard Shaw, my late business partner, and I, we broke the story on Maelstrom.
Yeah,
we're the guys that did it. It's all over the internet now, just like Kandahar Giant. But Rick and I, we broke the story. What happened? Robert Salas, who was the base commander at Maelstrom, came to us and said, "I'd like to do this, but I need to say I don't like the editing, or can you change this?" We said, sure. We were the first production company to do that. Since then, he's been all over the place. But we broke the story. I interviewed Robert Salas, and it was very emotional, because later on he was abducted. He was taken. So why are they interested in nukes? Because they are. Because they know that's their trigger. That's their trigger. That's what they're waiting for, because they can see through time and places in ways that we can't. So, the Maelstrom Air Force Base, the Maelstrom nuclear site, they had 10 intercontinental ballistic missiles. They were nukes and they just shut them off like that. We broke that story, Richard Shaw and I, years ago. So now it's all over the internet.
Yeah. And, I just found a lot of the stuff that I read in the book, obviously, there's a lot in just that one book, never mind all the body of work that you've done. But I know I'm just being cognizant of time here. We're like 35 minutes in. For someone who's new to all of this, a listener who hasn't heard, can you give kind of you've given a little bit, but sometimes we're talking at high level, sometimes we're bringing it back. But when you look at the seed war, maybe, kind of give an idea of what that is and how you see that into play. Because when people are abducted, what's the purpose of those abductions? And I know, and I've read your stuff, so I know, but it's just I'm trying to get it out for people that haven't heard about this stuff before, that might be just hearing these ideas for the first time now.
Yeah, I got this from Chuck Missler, the late Chuck Missler. Daniel 2:43, their seed will mingle with the seed of men, but will not cleave to them. And the word cleave, I got this from Jim Williamson, is the same word that we get way back in Genesis, where a man will leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife. It's a marriage contract, no marriage contract. And then we know from the angel, see how complex this stuff is?
Yeah.
So we have the verse, who are they? That's the first thing we have to contend with. Who are they? Their seed will mingle with the seed of men. Well, it's not the seed of men, so whose seed is it? Hippopotami? I don't think so.
Yeah.
There's only one, and that's the fallen angels. This is why Genesis 3:15 is paramount to our discussion. Because if we don't get Genesis 3:15 right when we arrive at Daniel 43, we're left, well, I don't know who they are, but whatever, you turn the page, right?
Yeah.
That's what happens. And people, they don't know. And then the angel tells Daniel, seal up the words in the book, Daniel, until the time of the end. And then he tells us what the time of the end will look like. See how it's like layer upon layer upon layer upon layer. Yeah. It's unbelievable, but we've deciphered it. And I thank Chuck Missler for that. The angel says, seal up the words till the time of the end. Then he gives us another spiritual bone. Men and women will run to and fro over the face of the earth. Knowledge will increase. That's where we are. You know, you go back 150 years ago, men did not run to and fro over the face of the earth. There were no airplanes. I know some of you snowflakes out there can't even believe that. No cell phones? No, nothing. The whole modern era is done in the last 125 years, essentially. And really in the last 50, here we are. You know, there were no cell phones 25 years ago. Sorry, guys, didn't exist. So here we are. And now, you know, you're at the airport and this is all you see.
Yeah.
Right? With the thumbs. And so, you know, it's the brave new world. But Daniel tells us that there's basically going to be a breeding program, but there's no marriage contract. Whose seed are we talking about? It's the fallen angels. And he tells us the time of the end, what it's going to look like. And that book was sealed up until researchers like Dr. I.D.E. Thomas, Dr. Chuck Missler, Gary Stearman, and others, and now myself, because Dr. Thomas is dead. He's passed. He's gone to glory. Same thing with Chuck Missler. So it's like I'm 75, so some of this falls on me. I don't know. I do 4, 5, 6 shows a week, you know, interviews like this with people, sometimes more. I was on Eric Metaxas' show this week, which got a huge following.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we do our own 7 shows. And anytime, you know, my nose is always on the trail, so to speak. You know, my ear is always listening. And Anna Paulina Luna was on Joe Rogan's show last week talking about that these are interdimensional entities. Well, that was rung number 21, and I did a show on that. So, you know, I'm constantly throwing this up. I have not been approached. It's a dog and pony show in Congress.
Yeah.
I mean, if they really wanted to get to the bottom of this, and I'll say it again, because if the more I say it, you know, somebody will give it to the powers that be. What they need to do is they need to get 500 Marines, the best of the best of the best, right? They split them 250 here, 250 here, right? And they have commanders, and they all have, you know, video stuff rolling, and 250 of them go to Wright-Patterson Field and go, we have orders from the President of the United States to come in. Right now, we want everything searched. They go in, it's a military operation, and they uncover what's there. The other 250 fly into Area 51, S4, and say exactly the same thing. That's how you get to the bottom of all this. Yeah. But they won't do it. Instead, it's a goofy dog and pony show. Yeah. And for you ufologists like myself, this is all old stuff. I've been banging the drum and it's interdimensional for 25 years, for crying out loud. 25 years, you know? I mean, seriously? But that's, and of course, no one will do that. Yeah. So these meetings in Congress, to me, are, in some ways, they're laughable. Thank God they're holding them. But it's a dog and pony show. Yeah. They never go anywhere. You know, they never get anywhere.
That brought me to something that, you know, I found interesting in your book when you were interviewing Osprey, or is it Osprey? Osprey,
yeah.
Where you were saying that a lot of these contractors that have this information or technology won't talk to Congress about it because they don't feel Congress can be trusted. And is that because, you know, like, is that because, you know, trusted with what? With the information, or that they were going to sell people out or go to foreign interests? What did he mean by, like, the Congress can't be trusted?
Well, one of the rungs on the ladder of disclosure is it's close to the, let me just get the book here. I want to give you the right information. So this to me is amazing when I read this. So one of the last rungs is, number 16. Number 16 is 18 rungs. Well, there's 17 rungs. And, the 18th rung is the end game. But the 15th rung is the whistleblower, David Grush.
Yeah.
And David Grush is in front of Congress. And a representative from South Carolina, Miss Nancy Mace, is interviewing him. And she goes, do we have crash craft? And he basically says, well, I've already talked about that. But yes, we've got crash craft. Well, do we have the pilots from these crash craft? And he goes, yes, we retrieved biologics. And she goes, well, were these human or non-human biologics? He looks right up at her and says, non-human biologics. You think my phone would ring?
Yeah.
You think the churches around Los Angeles would be calling me up? Dead silent.
Yeah.
Flatline. Nobody cares. And the church is so asleep, so anemic, so watered down. And, look, I've done my job. My hand is on the plow. I do 7 shows a week. I can't do more than what I'm doing.
Yeah.
We have 32 films. And, my current business partner, Gil Zimmerman, and I, there were 10 films here. And by the way, that's the Kumburgaz UFO.
Yeah.
That's real. Yeah. We broke that story. Once again, Richard Shaw and I'm boasting here, folks, but you're looking at Grandpa, okay?
Yeah.
And so there you go. That's the Kumburgaz UFO and over Lake Kumburgaz. And those 2 entities, those are grays. We broke the story. Dr. Roger Lear, who passed away, let us use it.
Yeah.
Let us use it. And people, oh, it's a fake, it's a fake, it's a fake. Excuse me. Or as Steve Martin would say, excuse me. But it's true. It's true. Richard had the original footage from Dr. Roger Lear. And he slows it down. We show this in Watchers 10.
Yeah.
He's going frame by frame. So what you see in between these 2 guys here, there's a third entity which is moving like this. In and out at twice the speed. And Rick was able to, we showed that in Watchers 10.
Yeah.
Our last film that we did together. So it's not a fake. It's real. It's the best UFO footage I've ever seen.
Yeah. And 2 quick questions. And one is going on what you said. Why do you think there's so much apathy? Because I'm the same thing. Like when I was even like in 17, when the New York Times broke that story and it was just like, well, whatever, it was on page 3 or whatever. I'm like, you would think that this would like this confirmation of a craft or biologics or whatever, or
right.
that they do have said, yeah, we do have technology from not of this world. You would think
right.
that would be first page 1, and
Yep.
you'd think there'd be like people freaking out or whatever, but like it's just whatever. And like you said, the church is like no one called you, but even in the general public or whatever, it's just kind of like whatever. Yeah, there's aliens, cool.
One of the rungs of disclosure, which is not in the book, but it's on the website, rungsofdisclosure.com, deals with exactly what this is. And there's a Super Bowl ad that came out a while back, and the Super Bowl ad, you can Google it on YouTube, folks. Go there after we're done here. I think you'll find it interesting. Give me a second. I'm actually trying to clean up my messy area here. Very good. So you go to YouTube and Google "Hello Down There," and it's exactly where we are. So it shows this woman walking in the streets of New York City. She's got a cell phone, and she's like this, looking at the cell phone, right? And the headline is "Congressional Hearings on UAPs, are we being visited by," and she kind of goes like this, and she scrolls, and there's a cat that's clawing the toilet paper, and she laughs. Yeah. But meanwhile, as she's laughing, directly overhead is one of these guys that goes by, and it's a big craft. Then it cuts to Paris, France, and all these kids are sitting under the Eiffel Tower. They've all got iPhones, iPads, computers, and right above the Eiffel Tower is a huge UFO. No one sees it because we're too busy looking
down.
The goofy iPhone. Yeah. It cuts to a little diner in West Texas. Same thing. People are eating, at this little diner. She's on her iPhone, celebrity bacon diet. He's got this huge mound of food, shoveling it in. Meanwhile, the dog in the back of their pickup truck is looking up and barking like crazy because it's the UFO overhead. Then it cuts to Japan. Same thing. UFOs in a boardroom. Everybody's on their tablets. So finally, a gray in the spaceship, in the UFO, a gray in the flying saucer above the planet, smacks his head like this and pushes a button. And everybody's phone, tablet, computer switches instantly and says, hello down there. And all the grays are awake waving. Everybody looks up. The woman in New York City is like this. Her face is one of wonder, acceptance, wonder, awe. This is predictive programming, is what you're looking at.
Yeah.
This was played. The commercial is a minute and a half long.
Yeah.
It cost millions of dollars to do that at the Super Bowl, and you have no idea what they're advertising till the last 5 seconds. Squarespace, a website, makes it real.
Yeah.
Excuse me? Excuse me?
Yeah. and this, why do you think people are more apt to believe, or, this is a general question now. And I'm thinking of people in the audience and that's why I'm asking like this, but why do you think people are more apt to believe that these non-human intelligences are something extraterrestrial or like some kind of amorphous interdimensional being, and way less apt to believe that it's actually Nephilim? Like, is that, in all your years of this research and doing this work, like, if you had to postulate what that would be, like, why do you think people are more apt to believe that?
Because they've been programmed for decades to believe in extraterrestrials. And then you get the straw man argument, well, the universe is so big, surely there has to be life out there somewhere. And so my rebuttal of that is Fermi, who wasn't a Christian, by the way, that I'm aware of. And Enrico Fermi, it's Fermi's, it's a conundrum, right? Fermi's paradox is what it's called. If the universe is teeming with life, where is everybody? I'll say it again. If the universe is teeming with life, where is everybody? Why this cat and mouse game? Why the cattle mutilations? Why the abductions? Why don't they just reveal themselves and show themselves? Nope. This is the coming great deception. I'm going to read you something, then I've got to get going. This is a track that we put out. I want to thank Brad Myers for he's the guy that funded this at first, and without him this wouldn't exist. So this is channeled information. It's information coming from a woman who has an entity which is coming into her. We're forbidden to do this. There is a potential for many people to leave the planet in an afternoon. The people who leave the planet during a time of Earth changes do not fit here any longer, and they are stopping the harmony of the Earth. That explains away the rapture of the church. I heard that 5 decades ago when I was in the New Age. I heard this. The Space Brothers were going to come and take some of these fundamental Christians out of here because they're not ready for the paradigm shift. There it is right there. What is the truth? This is the coming great deception. It will change everything in a nanosecond, just like that. Everything changes. When they show up, everything changes. So look, I've done my job. Gil Zimmerman and I did 10 films on it. Richard Shaw and I broke the Kumbergaz UFO, broke the Maelstrom, that whole deal that we did. We took an implant out from a guy that had been abducted. I mean, this is all frontline stuff. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
I can't say nobody. The numbers are growing.
Yeah.
But the church at large, they could care less, which is why you will never see me on mainstream Christian TV. They're not interested. Yeah. This is too woo. We can't go. We don't want to upset anyone. That's fine. Let everybody be ignorant. That's a great tack. Don't go there. So when this thing happens, people will be completely blindsided by it, which is exactly what the enemy wants.
Yeah.
What can I tell you?
And one quick question, really, because I just curious on your thoughts on this. The work of CERN and the particle colliders and all the work they're doing, and with people saying they're opening portals and stuff, how do you think all this fits into, the bigger picture? Because I know CERN's also tied to bigger political situations and whatnot. And I know that there's like religious connotations with CERN and, one way or the other. But have you done much looking into CERN and what their role in all of this is?
Yeah, I've been to CERN.
Yeah.
I was at CERN. I saw the dancing Shiva, the destroyer of worlds.
Yeah.
Well, why is that there?
Yeah.
That's all I'll say about it.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say about CERN.
Yeah.
But people need to look into that. I mean, do we really trust any of these things? I mean, right?
Sure.
Do we really trust anything anymore?
Yeah.
You know, and let me close by saying this: with the advent of AI, you can't tell what's real and what's fabricated anymore.
It's true.
This is why Jesus has to take us out of here, because the time of Jacob's trouble deals around Jacob, Israel. That's who it deals with. It doesn't deal with the church. This is why, if you're a replacement theology, then you can't get there from there. You just can't, because the church is the church and Israel is Israel, two distinct entities. And the 7-year tribulation deals with Israel. It doesn't deal with the church. So if you think you're mid-trib or post-trib, then you're going to go through the wrath of God. Are you out of your mind? You know, I mean, why would the Lord do that? Makes no sense at all. In fact, I think we're holding it back. And there's only a remnant, Josh. There's only a remnant that's looking up, that's expectant. Most of the church is not looking up because they're all millennial. And, you know, none of this means anything. When was the last time you heard any prophecy being taught at a church? It's not taught anymore. In fact, it's looked down against. People rail against it. So I'm just saying we're in a very interesting window of time. And with the advent of AI, you don't know what's real and you don't know what's fabricated, which is why he has to come and take us out of here.
All right. Well, I want to thank you for taking the time. I know we're 50 something minutes in, so I want to be
okay. We're good.
Yeah, good. But I will have all your information in the show notes. So if someone's driving, you can go back and click on the links later and find Ellie's body of work. Again, want to thank you for coming on and all the work you've done. I appreciate your time today, and I'm going to shut this off, but I'm not hanging up. So hold up 1 second here. All right. And before we wrap up today, just want to remind you, go to bigtruthpodcast.com for more information about the show. Click on the shop link if you want to get some show merchandise. And please, if you haven't already subscribed to the YouTube channel, we were late to the game on getting the YouTube set up. We're trying to boost the subscribers there. Give us a follow or a subscription there on YouTube at The Big Truth Podcast. And again, wherever you listen, give it a like, subscribe, leave a review, share the show with everybody, spread the word, keep this show going and growing. Appreciate you all so much. Until the next time, keep it locked.